So thank you all for coming here in New Jersey. If you could clap again so people online know you're actually here. There we go, yes. I'm not just talking to myself. There are actually people here. I appreciate it. I want to tell you a little bit about New York State since I'm here in New Jersey. New York State's in trouble. You probably know that. A lot of people from New York come to New Jersey, and you know that. They do. And one of the things you have to understand is the Republican Party in New York State has not won a statewide election. Nothing. Not governor, not senator, not AG, nothing in 22 years. Let me say that one more time so you can really let that sink in. They have not won a statewide election in 22 years. And not just that, the state is getting bluer, not redder. New York State is losing 300,000 people per year. Most of those people who are leaving, well, they wouldn't be voting blue. If they were voting blue, they'd be staying. There are actually about 4 million more Democrats than Republicans in New York State now. 4 million more. It's almost 3-to-1 Democrat to Republican. The chances of a Republican winning ever a statewide election in New York State now are now 0. Never happened again. Ball game is over for the New York GOP when it comes to statewide elections. Now, locally, Republicans still win across New York State. Of course they do. I'm talking a statewide election. We've allowed the state to become run by one party so badly that now we have a single party system. With a single party system, that's not really democracy, is it? It isn't. That's where we are now. Why would I tell you that story? That's not what New Jersey is. New Jersey still can have Republicans win statewide. Hasn't been 22 years. But if the New Jersey GOP doesn't do something, it will become New York. That is why I'm here to tell you that. You will eventually become a state to where no Republicans can ever win in this state, in a statewide election ever again. Well, there's things you can do. There's about 3 different options, things you can do to try to stop that or to just handle it. One is you can follow the New York State model. I don't like that model. That model is just give up. Just accept Democrats are going to run the state eventually. Who cares? Whatever. We'll try to keep our jobs best of our ability. We'll grift while the grifting's good. We'll just do that until the entire state collapses. That's option 1. That is the current New York State GOP. I'm sorry if you're watching GOP, you're angry. It's just true. It's where it is right now. I would like states to not do that. That's not a good answer, but that has been their answer. Because once you get to that level, you have to do something else. You have to start lying to your constituents. You have to start telling them, oh, this is the year. This time we're going to win. Don't worry. Give us your money. You have to start lying to your constituents. I don't want you doing that. The New York GOP now does that every year. This is the year. It's never the year. Those days are over. The numbers, the math is there. So that's one option. I'd like you to not do that. There's a second option, which some states are doing, and New Jersey should copy. And that is to take and to make a libertarian piece or libertarian caucus within your Republican Party. So Ryan's doing. Trying to make that happen within your party. Why does that matter? Why would you say, well, Larry, why is that the issue? Why does that matter? Because once you say I'm a Republican or I'm a conservative, everyone who is either identifies as a liberal or as a Democrat doesn't want to talk to you anymore. So it doesn't matter what you're saying. They don't want to hear your message because you have called yourself the evil word that they've been told for 20 years is evil. They don't want to talk to you anymore. But if you focus your message instead on something else like liberty or freedom, now they'll hear you. Now, okay, you're a Republican, okay, but you're not talking about I'm a conservative, I'm a Republican. That gets the base riled, which is awesome. The base being riled is great. But when you're outgunned 3-to-1, it's not enough. That's the problem. When you're outgunned 3-to-1, as we are in New York State, it's not enough. But if you have that message of liberty and freedom, they'll hear it. Now they'll go, okay, what do you have to say? Let me hear. Because what this country is looking for and has been looking for a long time is a rebel, and a rebel who can give us hope. People tell me all the time, Larry, how bad's it got to be in New York State before you guys make a change? That's not a thing. If things are bad, people just stay in bad. There's actually a name for it. It's called learned helplessness. It's a true thing. It's a real thing. When do people change? Not when things are bad, but when things are bad and they see hope. And we see it with our last 2 popular presidents, both Trump and Obama. If you're left-leaning, you like Obama. You're right-leaning, you like Trump. But in both cases, the same thing. Trump had Make America Great Again. That was hope. Oh my God, we got some hope. This guy can do it. He's a rebel. He can go do some stuff. Oh my God, people flock behind him. Democrats voted for him. Why? He didn't say, I'm a Republican. It's not what he said. He said, make America great again. Obama did the same thing. Hope and change. We voted for him. They had hope. So if you want to make this change in a state that is becoming bluer, like New York has already happened in New York, think about having a Liberty caucus within your Republican Party. Start getting people who are talking not about Republican stronghold things. Your base is already behind you. Right? Your base is already behind you. You're not gaining anything. Service your base. Have people who are your strong, normal Republicans. You need your base. Of course you do. But you also need others. And that's not going to work if you just go, we're Republicans, vote Republican. Doesn't work when your state becomes 2-1 or 3-1 Democratic. It doesn't work anymore. And then as time goes on, now divide becomes deeper. That now I don't vote for you because you're the other. I don't even care what you're saying. You're the other one. I can't vote for you. To change that. Doing that is going to be helpful. What does that mean from your leadership? That's hard. Because some parts of your leadership in New Jersey, I'm sure it's all over New York State, is okay with option one. They're okay with just letting it all go. We'll just we'll just coast until it collapses. Fine. Then we'll all move to Florida when we retire. Who cares? Right? You're laughing, but you know it's true. You've got people who are that way, who are like, fine. So it collapses. By the time it collapses, I'll be in North Carolina. It's all good. They don't care. So you're going to have to fight because some of them don't want you to make that change. They don't want you to add that liberty message. They want to stay hardcore Republican. That's it. I like where I am. Don't change anything. But if you do that, you also do something else. You're going to lose your youth. You're going to lose the young people. They're not going to come to the party. They want excitement and they want hope. And a Liberty caucus does that in the Republican Party. That gets them thinking. That gets them excited. That gets them moving. I'll give you some data which might make you laugh. In 2016, there were a bunch of people who supported Bernie, obviously. Bernie was very popular in 2016. Well, then when Bernie got booted by the Democratic establishment, at least 1 in 4 of those people went to Trump. Now, that doesn't make any sense, does it? Their policies are not the same. They are not the same policy. But why would he go to Trump? He was a rebel. They didn't care what his policies were. You ask the people, there are a lot of people who supported Bernie. They couldn't tell you what their policies were. Had no idea. Seriously. They just leaned left and thought, well, that's my rebel because I lean left, so I guess Bernie's my guy. What's his policy? I don't know. But he's not them. No matter what you might think of Hillary Clinton, I'm not a big fan. I don't think any of you are. But regardless of your feeling of her, she was without question, she was the poster child for establishment. Democrats would agree, everybody would agree with that. That's not a thing anybody would fight over. So they didn't like it. They wanted a rebel. They all went over to Bernie. But then Bernie got booted. They went, where's the rebel? Oh, it's Trump. There we go. And he ran to Trump. Give you a second story. When I was running in 2018, a guy sent me a picture of his house. In front of his house was 4 banners. Don't tread on me flag, rebel flag, Trump flag, Larry Sharpe flag. Does that make any sense? People go, that doesn't make any sense. Like, what's going on here? It makes no sense at all. I said, it makes perfect sense. And I said, what? Each one of those in that person's mind is a symbol of rebellion. In that person's head, each one of those 4, which seem very different, in his head are exactly the same. Symbol of rebellion. Now, here's the hard part for Republicans. Most Republicans are conservative. Rebellion is not normal for Republicans. But liberty is. Freedom is. Small government is. Make that your rebellion. Make that your rebellion. All of a sudden now we're making some change that people can get behind. So you can do that. It will make things better. You will see something happen. Where do you find that? Example, that's Kentucky. Kentucky Republicans have a big libertarian string in them. You see it. Guys like Rand Paul, Thomas Massey, they're all Republicans. They all have that nice libertarian streak. And the Kentucky Republican Party is rocking and rolling. Right? Struggled a little bit. Now it's back in action again. Why? It has that libertarian streak. Option 3, support a local libertarian party. You might go, wait a minute, Larry, I'm a Republican. Why would I want to support a local libertarian party? Here's why. If you have a libertarian party, at least in the near future, is never going to conquer a state. I wish it would. That'd be amazing. I wish it would. But I'm being realistic. But it doesn't have to. It has to just be strong enough to move the electorate. That's it. Why? You will have better Republicans. You will actually have better Democrats. Because they can't just yell, other guy bad. What's happening now in most states, particularly if they're heavily one or the other, whenever they run, they don't have an idea, they don't have a policy, they go, I'm not him. So vote for me. That was literally Biden's entire 2020 campaign. I'm not Trump. At least he wasn't lying. That was true. He's not Trump. That's true. But that was his entire campaign. I'm not him. When you have a Libertarian Party, you can't just say, I'm not him. You have to actually have policies. You will have better Republicans. An example of that is New Hampshire. It's in New Hampshire right now. There's some great Republicans in New Hampshire. Why? There's a Libertarian Party that moves the needle. Libertarian Party doesn't control New Hampshire. It doesn't. But it's strong enough to where it moves the needle, to where it forces Republicans to not just go, he's bad. It forces Republicans to go, no. I have to actually have some ideas. I've got to think about my future. I have to actually be small government. Because what winds up happening when you allow Libertarian Party to exist, it becomes better Republicans than the current Republicans, and it becomes better Democrats than the current Democrats. So it forces Republicans to be better, and it forces Democrats to be better. That's what it does. So you actually have three options to fix this. Well, to deal with it. The first one's the bad option. I hate that option. Just accept it. It's going to happen, whatever. Let it go. If you saw that happened almost to a crazy part if you remember, in Utah. Utah is the opposite. Utah is about 4-1 Republican to Democrat. The Democrats didn't bother running anybody. They stopped running at a statewide. It was a statewide election. They didn't run anybody. That guy McMullen almost beat Senator Mike Lee. Remember Mike Lee? He won. But the reality is he won his last election by like 40 points. This one he won by like 10. Why? Because an independent stepped up, a non-Democrat, an independent stepped up, because the Democratic Party in Utah is so broken it doesn't even bother feeling anybody anymore. That will wind up happening in New York. How do I know that? In my district where I live in Queens, for my local election, they have not run a candidate at all in 10 years. Republican Party has not run a candidate in 10 years. And they did run one once 10 years ago. He lost by 70 points. Not 17, 7-0. He lost 80 to 55 to 15. He lost by 70 points. And then before that, nobody in 10 years. So in 22 years, they've run a candidate one time. That is how bad it is. New York City is 6-1 Democrat to Republican. 6-1. When Cuomo was governor, he literally said this. When Cuomo was governor, Cuomo, not my favorite governor, in fact, one of my worst. Hochul's, she's trying. So she might win that. I'm going to give her that. She's really trying to be the worst. So she might be the worst. But right now, still Cuomo. When he was governor, he actually said, we're going to have an election to find out who the mayor is. The election's in June and we'll know. Now you might go, June? Wait a minute. Election's in November. Why would he say June? That's the primary. He literally said, don't bother even showing up in November. Don't bother doing it. Because whoever wins the primary is the mayor. Our governor said that openly. That will happen in other states. It's already happening in New York. I basically come here to give you a cautionary tale, right? Don't be like me, is what I'm saying. Don't be like my state. Because as this happens, it comes to a point where it's almost no return. I cannot see a return to the GOP in New York State. I can't see it. And I travel the state literally every single year. I go to every county in New York State, all 62. I travel every year. I've done it for 6 years in a row. I meet New Yorkers all the time. I cannot see a recovery. Maybe there's some way. I don't see it. New York State's at a point where it will go gold before it will go red, because everyone is fleeing. The people who would vote red are literally packing up and leaving. And the people who vote blue are staying. We can take charge and we can change that. If we just accept it, it's going to happen. The answer, believe it or not, is liberty and freedom, either within your own party or supporting a third party. But there's no other way. And here's the problem that people see now. You might go, Larry, that sounds good. But look, we have our own policy. We have our own ideas. That's not how outsiders see Republicans and Democrats. I know I'm an outsider. How do third-party people, independent voters who are now the largest across the country, and in New Jersey, there's more independents than there are Republicans. New York State, same thing. They see, there's two different ways to look at it. Number one, they see the Republicans as the party of no ideas and the Democrats the party of bad ideas. That's how they see it. So they say, well, why bother? I get no idea or I get bad ideas. But the worst part is when people are hurting, what will they do? They'll take any idea and they go to the bad idea, which is one of the reasons why Democrats keep winning, because people go to bad ideas when Republicans seem to have no ideas. Now, I'm not saying that Republicans don't have any ideas. What I'm saying is that is the image of people outside. That is the image. I hope you'll accept that. That's what it looks like. It's all they say is the same old stuff. What are Democrats over? More money, more money, more money. So they ever say. It's not really an answer. If you start going to Liberty, what will happen? You'll start having actual answers. People will begin to pay attention to you. How do I know this? Right? Everything I'm telling you, I think he's just talking. No, this is stuff I know. How do I know? I was polling at 6% in 2021 before I announced for governor. 6% as an independent, as a libertarian in New York State, in a state that's 3-1 Democrat Republican. 6% is magical for that. That's magical for that. Why? Because I cross the state and I tell people my actual ideas, what I think will fix my state, what I think will actually work. And it's always about four things. Never any new taxes, ever, any fines or fees. Never any new police forces, no new FBIs and CIAs, none of those ever. I always focus on the entrepreneur class if I'm helping businesses, and I focus on the working poor and the middle class when it comes to individual people. Focus on those four things. You will watch people go, oh, you're one of us. We should listen to you. This can work. And of course, you can support third parties. And the reason why you support third parties, I know people are afraid of it. I hear all the time. Democrats, literally, as I'm in New York City trying to get signatures, they go, no, I don't want you on the ballot because my guy might lose. They literally tell me that. They literally tell me that. I hear all the time. People who are Republicans, Democrats, hate it. You're worried. Let me be very clear. If you are winning, you're probably right. I hate to say it. Democrats are probably right. They control the state, already controlled. Don't bother having anybody else run. We run everything. I mean, I think it's immoral, unethical. But if all you care about is power, it actually makes sense. Keep everybody off the ballot. We keep winning. Crush the Republicans. We control the state. I get it. Makes sense, right? But if you're not winning, why wouldn't you want more allies? If you're not winning, why wouldn't you want someone else to attack the establishment with you? If you're not winning, why wouldn't you want a coalition of more people to attack the establishment? What most people believe, not all, but most do, is that really the enemy is not the Republican or Democrat across from me. It's the establishment guy up top. That's the person I'm really worried about. That's the person who's really hurting me somehow. It's the establishment guy at the top. If you can convince people of that, you can move them. So I guess what I'm here to tell you in general is, I think if you want to make sure that New Jersey does not become like New York, the number one thing for you to do is support a liberty movement, either within your own party and or as a secondary party. I think either or both can work. If we keep doing the same thing, New Jersey will become New York. And soon you'll have 500,000 people leaving Jersey every year and packing up and all going to Florida, just like we have. Literally just a data point. In 1 month last year, 6,000 New Yorkers changed their license from New York to Florida. That's 200 a day. That's how fast they're leaving my state. 200 a day. That is how fast. People are leaving our state faster than California. Take that, California, we're number one. Yes, New York is number one. We are the worst state in the entire union when it comes to that. So we are number one at that, at least. Or something. See, New York, number one. So yes. Some of you had a question, comment?
You both know that the people who attack libertarians the most are libertarians.
Correct.
So how do the Republicans make headway with them to get them to come over and make them?
Yes, absolutely. This is a big issue you're going to find. The difference between most, if you look at Republicans and Democrats, there's a system that they fall in behind, right? Okay, we have a hierarchy, we have a leadership, we understand what we're doing, what's our policy, where we're moving. Very common, natural, it's an organization. Libertarians aren't good with that. Not our skill set. We're not good at that. Libertarians have principles and values. So we have. I could call myself king of libertarians all day. They will laugh me off the stage. Not going to work. So we fight. We also have left and right libertarians. Left-leaning libertarians, right-leaning libertarians. We have them all the time. The difference between libertarians and others is we don't want to pass a law to make something happen. We don't want to use law enforcement to make something happen. We don't want to use Congress or the courts to make something happen. We want to convince you. We are all about volunteerism. We're about you do you, but I'm going to show you how wrong you are. That's how we are. That's why we fight so much. That's why we fight so much. Because I don't believe that a government should stop you from doing what you're doing, but you're wrong. Don't you understand how wrong you are? So I have to tell you and show you how wrong you are. So boy, do we fight. You're right. It's hard. Here's how you get libertarians to come to you or you to go to them. Single issues. Single issues. In almost every case, if libertarians take on an issue, they're stronger than you are. An example I'll give you is Second Amendment. Republicans support the Second Amendment, nowhere near like libertarians do, not even close. We're the ones who are going to yell and go, we should all own tanks tomorrow. We're that people. We're those people. Yes, we support stronger than anybody. In New York State, all of the lawsuits that have won against the estate have been started by libertarians, not by Republicans. All started by libertarians. You have libertarian lawyers do it all the time. They fight the Second Amendment to keep it all the time. So wherever you will find an issue that you think that it's usually a Republican issue, if that matches libertarian, jump on that issue. We'll be the ones. If you say we got an event out there, be on the street, 10 o'clock Thursday, tell libertarians, they'll be there. They'll be there. Signs and banners yelling. They'll be there. So find single issues that libertarians are on and make a single issue coalition. That'll get you talking. And when you say something that you don't like most Republicans are nowhere near as positive on the ending the war on drugs as libertarians are, just don't talk about that. I'm serious. Stay to the issue that we align on, right? Most libertarians are end the war on drugs tomorrow. Most Republicans are not. Don't talk about that. Unless you happen to be a Republican who's against the war on drugs, awesome, have that conversation. But if you're not, don't talk about that. Talk about the issues where you align, which is going to be things like Second Amendment, things like fiscal responsibility, balancing the budget. Oh my God, libertarians will talk about that all day long. They'll talk your ear off on that. Say again? Parental rights. My God, we will yap all day about that. Homeschooling, on no mandates. Oh, yes. We will jump up and down about that. 100%. We'll sit you down and talk for 3 hours just on stopping mandates. 100%. Everything. Even libertarians who are not religious cannot stand ending a religious exemption. It's First Amendment. Even if they're not religious, they'll be like, no, you get to have your rights. And they will fight 100%. One of the sayings that libertarians have is all of your rights all the time. All of your rights all the time. I'm the guy who literally, and this is true, after a school shooting, I will do a show on the value of the Second Amendment. I want to walk away from it. The Republicans walk away from it all the time. Whenever that happens, Republicans go, well, now's not the time they do that. Democrats go, take all the guns, right? And the Republicans go, oh, now's the time. Libertarians go, no, guns were good. Should have more of them. In fact, if we had guns there, we'd be all right. Yeah, more guns. Yeah, absolutely. And we double down, we triple down. So to answer your question, find the issues that you overlap and create single issue coalitions. You will find libertarians will stand with you 100%. They will jump on board. And when they go off into something you hate, you don't talk about that. That's all it is. Don't talk about that. Focus on the issues that matter to you. You're right. Parental rights, all about it. Ending mandates, all about it. Fiscal, all about it. Second Amendment, all about it. 100%. Yes. Did I answer your question? Excellent. Any other questions or comments? I'm happy to take any questions or comments.
Very Republican.
Second?
Very Republican. So far, everything you said, I'm strongly for it.
Yes, but to be forward, I don't want to give you some false hope. We also have some left-wing issues. We are 100% all good with gay rights, trans rights, 100% on all those things, right? Anything that consenting adults want to do, we are in. Consenting and adults, those two things, yes, must be consenting and adults. All in anything they want to do to include sex work. We are 100% for sex work, no worries. If the two consenting and adults, those two things, consenting adults, all good, all in. 100% agree. You'll find libertarians agree with that. 100%. Yes, absolutely. And they consenting adults, we're okay. We're okay with all drugs. Consenting adults. If consenting adults decide to do drugs, libertarians are okay with that. 100%. And I know some Republicans don't like that. So don't talk about those. Right? Just focus on the issues that you overlap, single issue coalitions, you will find libertarians will jump on board. And what happens with that is you'll find us start to talk. What right now in blue states, particularly in blue states, Republicans and libertarians don't talk that much because we're competing. We don't talk that much, and we should be talking more. We should have much more conversations in blue states because we can create coalitions and we don't. The people who sued me off the ballot were Republicans. Wasn't Democrats. They sued me off the ballot. The Republicans, and this is a true story. I went to Republicans in New York GOP and I said, why don't you let me run in your primary? In New York State, we're different than you guys are here. In New York State, we have what's called fusion voting. I can run on multiple lines at the same time. Right? That happens in New York. So I said, let me run your primary. I'll win your primary and I'll have multiple lines. I'll have the Libertarian line and Republican line. And at that point, Andrew Yang was backing me because of election reform. Right? Again, the Forward Party and Libertarian Party, we don't agree with a lot. But you know what we agree upon? Electoral reform. We are 100% together, sympathetic on electoral reform. So what do we talk about? Electoral reform. That's where we overlap. Single issue coalition, right? We agree on that. Let's talk about that. And when Yang and I are on the same stage together, we talk about that. Nothing else. Because Forward Party is not good with guns. They're not. They're not. So I don't talk about that in front of them. When they're on stage with me, that's not an issue we bring up. I practice what I preach, right? Single issue coalitions. So he was going to have all that happen. Republican Party said no and sued me off the ballot instead. So yes, we fight too much. We should not be fighting. It does not make sense. We should be creating coalitions. And we're not. And here's the reason why. The left-right paradigm is so strong that people right now, and when you think to yourself, you are all Republicans, what would it take for you to vote for a Democrat? Thank you. Yes. Democrats think the same about you. They think the same about you. They do. But they don't think the same about third parties. They don't. They think differently. They don't think that way about Forward, even about the Greens even. They don't think that way about Libertarians. They don't think it that way. They think differently. How do I know that? Again, when I ran, we did polling. About 25% of the people who supported me in 2018 were registered Democrats. About 40% were registered Republicans. And 35% were either not registered, new or independent, or some other party. That's almost a third. It's not exactly, it's almost a third of each. No other party can get that, but a third party can, which is why I would say we can do that. We can move people forward. So, yeah, please. Please.
There's a lot of Republicans who say I'm for small government. Don't hurt anyone to take their stuff.
Yep.
But then something will happen they don't like. And then they go, there should be a law against it.
Yes.
Or they should find an arrest for it.
Yep.
There's no victim.
Yep.
How do you try to explain to those Republicans freedom of liberty and not?
There's three things to talk about. The first one is one of the reasons why that person will turn or change and not get any is there's no support. Imagine if you had a libertarian caucus within your Republican Party where that person would have support. They could stand their ground and say, no, this is a bad idea. I actually believe in it. Imagine if you had that. Or people in the caucus who would say, no, you're wrong. Let me explain how. Or a Libertarian Party that you were having a single issue coalition with, which would say, hey, hold on. No, this isn't what we agree upon. Don't do this. So that support's number one. But then how do you get someone to not? Let me give you a good example. It's the black market. What is the number one reason for violence in America? The number one, there's many reasons. Number one reason is the black market. It's gang violence. It's the number one reason for violence across America. There's many reasons. This is the only reason. But the biggest chunk is gang violence. Most gun deaths, it's gangbangers. Most is that. That's the largest chunk. Where's that come from? The black market. The more you create a black market, the more you start having violence and people doing things you don't want to do. You create desperate people who do desperate things, right? Now, don't get me wrong. There are bad people, and bad people can do bad things. That is going to happen. I wish I could just end evil people. That'd be amazing. I can't do that. I don't have that magic power. I can't do that. But those people will affect other people who are desperate. That becomes their army. That becomes their gang. That becomes their people they recruit because they're desperate to get them in the black market. So if you let people know, look, if you just pass a law against stuff, you don't end the thing. The war on drugs didn't end drugs. The war on poverty didn't end poverty, right? It didn't end it. You have to actually try to repair it in some way, shape, or form. What you do is you create a black market. The best example I can give you is probably New York State again. No, it's actually California. California. When California legalized cannabis, California said, we're going to legalize cannabis. People said, oh, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be great. The farmers going to make tons of money. People in California are making tons of money. It's going to be a great thing. It wasn't. Why? Because they taxed it so much, there was still a black market. There was still a black market. So this actually happened in California, Northern California. A bunch of farmers said, I'm just going to do it anyway. I don't care. So they did it. They started making their own farms, right? So the legal farmers said, wait a minute, no. This is illegal. So of course, California said, you know what? I get it. Makes sense. Let's lower the taxes for everybody. So no, they didn't do that. Of course not. No, they didn't do that, please. Of course not. They went, oh, great. They had law enforcement go in, confiscate everything, and then they hired, I'm not joking, with taxpayer dollars, they hired a consultant to burn everything. So taxpayer dollars were now spent to confiscate that and to burn it. Yes, that's what happens. If you just pass a law, it doesn't, you have to do something to change it, right? I'm not saying you should accept bad behavior. Absolutely not. I'm saying going, it's now illegal isn't the only answer. Because what winds up happening is now you do something else which is terrible. You give law enforcement even more work to do. And I remember, I was a Dallas police chief. I forgot which police chief. He was explaining it years ago, and it really struck home for me. He said, you got cops doing everything. Everything. Any problem, call a cop. Cops aren't magic. They're human beings. They're not magic people. They're human beings trying to do a job. And you're going to call them for everything? How can they do it all right? Well, it's impossible. They're going to make a mistake. And instead of making a mistake, oh, cops are evil. Instead of making a mistake, well, you're putting them in a spot where they're going to make a mistake. So don't do that. Now you're putting cops in desperate situations. I don't want that either. I want no one in my perfect world in desperate situations, right? I want cops getting bad guys and bad guys being titled as people who create victims. You create a victim, you're a bad guy, cops go get him. It should be that simple, but it isn't. Because I get mad and then go, there ought to be a law. And now I've got cops, whatever, checking how far my dog is when he takes a poop. Why is a cop doing that? Right? Or I got to hire a new bunch of cops, right? I don't want regular cops. I got a cop now. I got to make a new one. I got to make the dog poop cops. I got to make them and give them a uniform and a whole deal. They got to go out and do it. Why? Don't make a law for that. Get people to stop doing it. Did I answer your question? I think if you do that, things will be a whole lot better. A whole lot better. Any other questions or comments?
That's one thing too.
Please.
There's a lot of people running this. Again, it's a lack of personal courage. A lot of the people who
Yes.
I'll give you as a libertarian, as I told you, I ran in, and on my platform was I had that the 2020 election was stolen from President Trump.
Mm-hmm.
As most reasonable, objective people could probably agree or make a reasonable argument. I also had on my platform was the vaccines that the government coerce you into not only don't work, but make you sick. Not one Republican would touch that issue in New Jersey. Why? Because of a lack of personal courage. Because they're more worried about getting elected than they are helping. So all the things you said were all great and good, but unless people step forward and put country and people first and personal priority second, we're going to just stay with.
Well, let me be very forward with you on that. I agree we have to have personal courage. You're right. But if I'm going to expect an individual to always have it, I'm going to fail on that. I have to give the individual a support system to feel like they're supported. It is contagious, exactly. And that goes back to my point of having a Liberty caucus to fall back on that would have backed you, right? That now you would have had a backing. Some Republicans are like, don't, we're the regular Republicans. No, he's nuts, he's crazy. But you would have had a chunk who said, no. He has a freedom of speech. Let him say his thing. What's wrong with you? We got your back. That's what I'm talking about, having that caucus. You would have had support, and others would have followed you because they would have had support too. That support structure matters more than you think. For those of you who've run, it can be very lonely running. I've run more than once. Every time you run, it's all on you. The fingers get pointed at you. And then it gets wrong is all you. As people get mad at you for any reason whatsoever, people lie about you, say bad things about you all the time. Happens constantly. You got to put up with it. It's challenging. Support structure makes it a whole lot better. So yes, can an individual be brave? Yeah, but that's not going to be enough. I need that person to stay brave and others around them support them. And then someone else goes, I'm going to be brave too. Let's all be brave. But here's what you understand. And your point's a very valid one. Most people like courage. They're drawn to it. They're drawn to it. It's human nature. And just you. We're naturally drawn to confidence. We're drawn to courage, right? You've seen people who you didn't even agree with, but you're like, he said, I don't believe in Bernie Sanders' policies, but I like watching him speak. I do, because he speaks with confidence. I enjoy watching him speak. even though every policy he'd said, I'm like, nope, 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 nope. But still, I'm still drawn to him because he's been saying the same thing again and again and again with conviction and with courage. Even, well, not now. Now he's sold out now. But he used to be a guy who didn't sell out. He used to be a guy who would just say what he felt and boom, boom, and it was Medicare for all and all the billionaires are evil. I don't believe any of that, but it's fine. I still think it's amazing. He just kept saying it. He didn't care. I think it's attractive. I think you're right. But you've got to set up a system. Bernie found out he didn't have a system. And what happened to him? Gone. He didn't have a system. So agree with you. And so let's find an answer for that. Let's have a party to go to, or have a caucus to go to, or have some place to go to, so that when someone wants to be the rebel, they've got a support structure. Did I answer your question?
Very much.
Excellent. Any other questions or comments? Excellent. Thank you guys so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you.